Scott Morrison has touched down in Osaka as Japan prepares to host the latest round of the G20 Leaders Summit. The PM began the trip meeting two friendly faces, the leaders of Japan and the United States. But away from the media, he's promised to push the case for a trade truce. Our chief political reporter, Kieran Gilbert, is in Osaka.
A Japanese welcome from the Prime Minister here for Scott Morrison with a nickname that he's familiar with.
I like that.
The goodwill continued after the Japanese bilateral with the working dinner with Donald Trump, where he said he knew Scott Morrison would win the election. He didn't think it was an upset.
They called it an upset, but I don't call it an upset. You probably didn't. Your wife didn't call it an upset.
There's been some talk that Donald Trump might visit Melbourne later in the year. I asked him whether or not he would be there for the golf, the President's Cup.
Mr. President, you're coming to Melbourne for the President's Cup golf?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to.
There's a warm invitation.
It might not be easy, but I'd like to.
Obviously, the big focus here is on trade. And again, I asked the President whether or not he recognises, while he focuses on America first, that sometimes for the Allies it's not seen that way. And certainly from the Japanese and Australian perspective, there are adverse effects on our economies.
You talk about America first a lot. Do you recognise that for many of your allies, sometimes it's seen as America alone because it has adverse impacts on countries like Japan and Australia, like on trade, for example?
Yeah, well, I think I can say very easily that we've been very good to our allies. We work with our allies. We take care of our allies. We do look at ourselves, and we look at ourselves, I think, more positively than ever before. But we also look at our allies, and I think Australia is a good example.
Two important and friendly bilateral meetings for Scott Morrison to start the G20, Japan and the United States. But the Finance Minister said that the PM and the rest of the delegation would be frank when it came to the working dinner and Australia's wish and hope that the US and China come up with a compromise on their trade deal. Kieran Gilbert, Sky News, Osaka.